Hi, I'm Dan from New Aero Detailing. We're here today with this Tiger that got coated 3 years ago. And the purpose of today's servicing was to kind of evaluate where is the coating at today after 3 years of consistent flying and abrasive cleaning and so forth. And we're actually very, very pleased here today to see that this coating is holding up really well. Since the coating, this aircraft's got well over 800 hours on it since it's been coated. So it's a good testament to see how these coatings hold up over time versus, up to the weather, conditions of the weather and UV and just overall wear and tear. And what we have found here today is there's not a whole lot of breakdown, and a lot of that comes from a good quality paint job to start. So the areas that we have found today on this aircraft to have a little bit of breakdown was your common areas that get hit most, and that's your leading edges, your front cowling and so forth. And even in these areas, as I would go through and do a cleaning on them, I didn't need to use any type of abrasive cleaners. Everything was a very light touch, mild cleaner, and anything that was on the surface easily came off. So that's a good sign that things are holding up. However, it's at a point now to where, as just overall maintenance and precaution to the paint itself, it's a good idea to just put an additional layer of ceramic on it just to maintain the initial base coating that got put on 3 years ago. So a lot of people question, what is a ceramic coating? How is it different from polymer waxes and so forth? A ceramic coating has a very high hardening factor to it, and it allows for a greater amount of protection over its length of time from being applied. Where polymer waxes typically need to get reapplied about every 6 months to a year, even in your higher end lines like Permaguard and so forth, require a maintenance treatment of 1 year. Ceramic, depending on the aircraft's quality of paint, the amount of time it's being flown, can last anywhere from 3 to 4 years, upwards of 7+ years, depending on how the aircraft's being cared for. So it allows for a lot less maintenance. It allows for a lot easier cleanups after flights, and more importantly, it protects your paint because, as we all know, aircraft paint jobs are very expensive and it's a lot of downtime when it comes time to actually repainting them. So anything we can do to protect that initial investment is really critical and important to us as a detailer, and more importantly to the customer. So with ceramics, there's a lot of different products out there, and you can go out on YouTube and you can go crazy looking at all the different manufacturers of ceramic. The key part of ceramics with an aircraft is that it is an aviation grade ceramic and that it's been approved by Boeing and Airbus, and those ceramics are designed specifically for aircraft. On this particular aircraft, we used what was considered as a System X diamond product at that time, and now they've come out with Max and Max Plus and other additional grades that offer different levels of protection. What we applied today was Max, and this coating is designed to hold up to a good solid 5 to 7 years on an aircraft like this that's being well cared for. There's other ceramics out in the market, such as automotive ceramics, spray ceramics. These ceramics are not truly designed for aircraft and will not hold up. The spray ceramics that you can buy at your local AutoZone and things like that, if at best, might hold up a month or two. So really not a good investment to make to an aircraft, and it's better to have a professionally applied aviation grade ceramic on any high investment such as an aircraft. With ceramic, it's all about the preparation. Just like painting an aircraft, if you don't have a good foundation, the ceramic's not going to benefit you in the long run. So with applying ceramic, you've got to go through and do a really good solid dry wash to the entire aircraft. If necessary, you can even start with a real solid wet wash and then transition to a dry wash just to get any grime off the surface. After that, the key part is to inspect the entire aircraft and see what needs to have paint correction. Now, paint correction is the removal of oxidation and imperfections to the surface of the aircraft, scratches and blemishes and so forth. Once that surface has been restored to an initial factory shine, then the process of doing what's called an IPA, which is an alcohol water solution where you wipe down the entire aircraft, remove any residual contaminants, polishes that were applied, and then for the final ceramic gets applied. It's best to apply ceramic by hand. Depending on the type of ceramic you're using, it does have a flash period, so you have to apply it, wait a short period of time, and then remove it. Otherwise, it starts to flash, it starts to get almost like a hardening effect to it, to where it can get smeary and it can get a little difficult to work with. So you want to work with the ceramic based on the grade of it properly. Otherwise, you can actually do a lot of damage to an aircraft surface. So ceramic grade and preparation is extremely important when making an investment on an aircraft for it to be done properly. So with ceramic, silicon dioxide is a main component of ceramic, and a big part of this is having a grade of ceramic that is designed for an aircraft, where a lot of your aviation ceramics have a high volume of that versus your automotives, and that's the hardening factor. It's one of the main ingredients in glass, to believe it or not. So that factor of it hardening and giving you almost like a solid barrier makes a huge difference in the protection that it adds to the aircraft surface. So the benefits of the ceramic is honestly, it's one of those things you have to kind of see it to believe it. As detailers, we're primarily servicing the corporate jet industry. And when we go to do these aircraft and do a dry wash and prep it before flight, it is amazing how much less time we have invested in cleaning an aircraft and prepping it with ceramic on it versus the aircraft that do not have ceramic. So by able to, to go out and even do like just your normal joyride flight in a GA aircraft like this, and to come back and have a few bugs on it, you don't need to invest in harsh, degreasers and chemicals that are not only miserable to work with and terrible to breathe, that's not great for your paint. You can use a very diluted solution, and even something as simple as water and a microfiber to just go down the leading edge, wipe the bugs off, and maintain it over time. So it has really made ownership a lot more enjoyable, and we're spending more time in the air and less time on the ground cleaning. So with any aviation grade ceramic, it is not recommended that you do it yourself. And trust me, if I could have you save money and do it yourself, by all means, it would be the best way for you as a GA pilot. But it is something that should really be done by a professional, just because the flash periods on these products are very different and can definitely do a lot of damage to the paint if not done properly. When it comes to the investment of this, it really depends on obviously the condition of the paint. You can do a ceramic job on an aircraft of this size. It can be as low as $1,300 to $1,500 starting point and go upwards into the mid-2000s. It really depends on how much conditioning, reconditioning has to be done to the paint, how well it's been cared for, and certainly the quality of the paint. And then from there, obviously, if you're a pilot that goes into multi-engines, into the King Airs, you have starting points of $3,500 upwards to $6,000 and up from there with corporate jets. So it's a wide range of pricing. A lot of it really comes down to the proper prep and the investment that the detailer is putting in to prepping the service to ensure that it is actually ready for ceramic, because you do not take ceramic and just put it straight on paint and assume that it's going to hold up, because it won't. It's not going to adhere proper to the surface, and again I go back to saying it's just like kind of painting an aircraft and even a vehicle. If the surface is not properly prepped and primed and painted properly, the paint's going to flake right off. The same thing happens with ceramic. And then once you're at a point where the ceramic has cured, which in this case, this particular ceramic takes 72 hours to cure, it's really at that point, it's almost a shield to this aircraft. It protects it against so many elements. So the investment over time is significant, and really the biggest part is it saves you from repainting this thing on a much sooner basis than what you're typically used to with aircraft. So a lot of people ask, where can ceramic get applied and where should it not get applied? On this particular aircraft, it can get applied everywhere except for that prop. Other aircraft, you have systems such as like Cirrus's that have TKS systems on the leading edge, or de-ice boots. Those are areas that ceramic should not get applied to. It's not only unsafe, but it can actually cause great damage to those systems. So a lot of people question, is it truly worth the value of putting a ceramic coating on your aircraft? Well, considering that most of us go back years where we were applying waxes, you'd spend an entire day, a weekend, waxing an aircraft, and you might do that every 6 months to a year. Where with a ceramic, once that's applied, you can sit back and enjoy the beauty of your aircraft for 3 to 5 years and not have to worry about spending those weekends doing that. Now, there are occasions where I have showed up to a job and ceramic just didn't make sense. And the reason being is if I get to an aircraft where the paint has been so oxidized that you can pretty much take your finger, wipe it out, see paint on it, and even see bare metal under that, there's nothing that's going to protect that or correct that issue. That aircraft needs to be painted. And there are times, unfortunately, as a detailer, I've traveled hours and hours to get to an aircraft to turn around and have to walk away. And that's unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm not going to apply a product to an aircraft if it doesn't make sense to do it. So if your paint's in good condition, even oxidized, it's a huge recommendation to apply it. And apply it prior to that point of where the paint is so broke down to where you do need to make that big investment to have the aircraft repainted.